Today we get a glimpse of wealth and hilariously excessive gaudiness at Hearst Castle, and then one of the final drives of the road trip, to a city called Buellton, where we start thinking about the end to this 90-day excursion. Good spirits on the morning of day 85. Maybe that's because breakfast at Bluebird Inn in Cambria, California was so surprisingly pleasant. Or because we walked around Cambria a little bit afterwards, looking at the shops. Maceo bought some yarn and I found a thrift store with a music corner. Glad I was wearing my Bob Dylan shirt. We left Cambria driving north along the coast towards Hearst Castle. But first, and I know we've seen this a lot lately, but we couldn't help but pull over for yet more ocean photography. At this particular spot, a squirrel was watching the ocean too. Not running around or sniffing for food or anything, just sitting on a rock in the sun, taking in the views. We noticed people pulled over taking photos of cows in a yellow field. That seemed strange, so we pulled over too. Turns out some of the cows were zebras, very near the top of the list of things I wasn't expecting to see today. The zebras indicated that we were at our destination, Hearst Castle. Visitors can't drive up to the so-called castle itself. We paid for the Grand Rooms tour, and a shuttle bus took us all up the gentle yellow hills above the Pacific Ocean. This is, of course, not an actual castle. It's the decades-long home, based on a Spanish church, and endless construction project of William Randolph Hearst. Hearst began a newspaper career in San Francisco, and eventually owned several papers across the country like the New York Journal, famous for their yellow journalism. This was basically a mix of actual journalism and sensationalistic, openly opinionated stories and shock pieces. As it turned out, you can become very wealthy by appealing to people's emotions in the guise of news. But what would we in the modern age know about that? Hearst bought land and worked on having this monstrosity of opulence built in the hills above the town of San Simeon. Work began in 1919, and Hearst Castle became a repository for his vast collection of curios and art from around the world. Statues, ponds, gardens, myriad architectural flourishes, and much more all sit jumbled together, side by side, on this perfectly scenic hilltop paradise. Hearst found the limits of excess and then went beyond them. No surface or square inch of his palatial home is anything but gaudy and overdone. You gotta respect that. Hearst died in 1951, and this is all now a California state park. The huge outdoor Neptune pool was being worked on when we were there, but nearby was my favorite part of the tour. Underneath the tennis courts, which Hearst remarked were the most popular feature among his guests, is the indoor Roman pool. Countless blue and orange tiles in a huge cavernous space for the most extravagant pool I've ever seen. I'm not sure why this specifically struck me so much. Maybe because, unlike stately dining rooms with wall-sized art and 10-meter tables, I've actually been in swimming pools myself, and seeing this one just underscores the grandiosity of Hearst Castle. And to think all of this was paid for by a guy who considered himself a populist, a man of the people. The bus took us back down the hill to the visitor center and to lunch outside. And we got back in our little rental car, having had our own little taste of the high life, at least tangentially. There are 5 days left on this trip, but this is the last one that follows the usual structure. The rest of today was driving down to the city of Buellton, a last look at the varied landscapes of California. Like this. We kept seeing this huge thing in the water. It's Morro Rock, a volcanic plug about 23 million years old. Not wanting to take too much time from our schedule, I turned down some handy side roads to try to get a better view of it. But nothing doing. Oh well, I tried, but we had to turn inland. Our hotel in the small city of Buellton was on this road, Avenue of Flags. The line of American flags flapping in the wind is even on the town seal. We got dinner from Jack in the Box as the sun set over Buellton, and we pondered the end of the trip. The end of a journey like this involves packing and cleaning and planning and confirming flights and schedules and things. The good news is the National Park Service has one more surprise waiting for us. Tomorrow we begin preparations to fly back to Japan, and on a final drive to Los Angeles we find ourselves in a national park site we weren't even expecting, Santa Monica Mountains National Recreation Area.